Just do things even though you're afraid. You don't have to stop being afraid in order to do it. Like, you don't have to stop being afraid first. You can just do it, and then the fear will eventually go away.
Maja Mikkelsen is a Sweden-based filmmaker whose background will surprise you. She has a background in marine biology, teaching, and scuba/surf instructing. So to say the least, she's had quite the elaborate transition into film. Her work, The Last Observers, got 2.2 million views on YouTube and got picked up by Patagonia. Maja's success is rooted in inspiring change in a relatable way, which you can see in her work, The Last Observers. She was able to make the mundane seem exciting and appealing. Let's dive into the conversation. What was it like having your first ever official short film become so successful? I saw it had around 2 million views since we're speaking, and how does it feel?
Obviously, great. I mean, I never expected this to happen for obvious reasons. It being my first film, so I'm just blown away. And speaking to other filmmakers too, it's like getting 2 million views on a short documentary is like pretty rare. So I'm just thrilled. And
Uh,
of course, since it's about my parents, that makes it even more special that I get to share them with 2 million people. That's
right.
that's really crazy.
Yeah, and I love your parents' lifestyle. It's it just felt like I felt the calmness and serenity of their lifestyle translate
Mm.
over into the screen. I didn't feel like anything was fast paced. It didn't feel like there was an agenda behind it. Just really showing a calm life and showing the beauty
Yeah, that
in
was
the
a
mundane.
very intentional choice. I wanted it to, when you watch the film, I wanted it to feel like you were at the lighthouse and get like the sort of mood that you have there, or like the sense of calm that is out there.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that worked pretty well.
And this very fast success that you've been able to achieve for your awesome work. How are you dealing with it? You know, usually there's the typical, it takes time to get better at something, and you have to suck at it at first to before you get good. But you just skipped all those steps and you created some really cool work. So how are you dealing with this success right now?
I mean, to be fair, I've sucked at many other things.
Sure.
So like, I think that's that was my process of becoming a filmmaker, is doing all these other things and having to work for them, and then just kind of finding like my voice, and just, I don't know. I just did what felt like right to do, and then that people liked it. It's out of my control, and
Right.
I'm not saying that I'm this brilliant filmmaker now and all my films are going to be huge successes. I don't feel that, I don't put that pressure on myself. I'm pretty fine with my next film. I mean, of course, I hope that it's going to do really well, but I'll also be fine if it's not as successful. I'm just
Uh,
trying to do what I enjoy, and something that I like personally.
and I appreciate the humility that you have and how you approach filmmaking, kind of not holding all of your works to the same standard and moving with what you like. And you're kind of mentioning you kind of just know, and you also have the courage to act on it too, right? Not staying in the same place for too long. Where do you get that knowledge of knowing what feels right and just sticking with it?
I think it's just intuition, just like listening to your heart, even though it's a cheesy expression. It's, and and trying out new things. I've never had like a clear direction or plan for my life. I've just been lucky enough to be able to try out different like career paths, and then once I realized that maybe this isn't for me, then I find a new path and then I try out that. I've never had a goal of like having a hugely successful career and making tons of money, and which, you know, again, I'm fortunate enough to be able to survive it without tons of money. But I don't know, that's always been my motivation. Just finding something that I truly enjoy doing and that I'm fairly good at, and going from there, and then figuring everything else out from that.
Eh, I like that you have that mindset, and part of me, I don't know if it's a cultural thing as well, because in the U.S., it's kind of like you're not exactly encouraged to try new things and be okay with these career changes as much. And I've a lot of people I've talked to, they feel that they want to try something new, but they feel they kind of feel bogged down in what they've done. They don't really want
Mm,
to go and restart the process of learning something new again, because they've already come so far doing one thing, regardless
mm,
of whether or not they like it.
yeah. And I mean, it is challenging to start something new. When you're good at something, it gets comfortable in a way. You know what to expect, you know the ups and downs of it. And when you start something new, you're like a beginner again. You don't know anything. You have to learn everything. And it's hard. It's harder.
Where do you think that openness comes from to be willing to try new things?
I mean, it's definitely how I was raised. My parents, they never had a plan to end up where they did. My dad found the birding station when he was a teenager, and he was like, wow, I like doing this more than anything else. And then his parents made him go to university and become a teacher, but he never worked as a teacher. He just wanted to work with the birds.
That's so
And my
sweet.
mom was also taking like some university courses. Again, education is free in Sweden, so you could just take some courses to see if you like it. And then she was working at a mental hospital as like a nurse. And then she also found the birding, and she found my dad, and through him the bird station and the weather and everything just kind of, they just found their place eventually. So they have always encouraged us, me and my siblings, to find what's right for us, what we like, what we find our path.
Hmm. You see, I come from a different, like, for me, having a plan was always encouraged.
Mm,
Having everything mapped out, your plan A, your plan B, and a plan C. That's like what I've always been accustomed to.
mm,
Recently, however, I've taken my foot off the gas of having a plan for everything and kind of doing what you say that you're doing something that makes me feel that I like, that makes me feel energized. And I've noticed the amount of peace I have internally as a result of that. It is just so calming, and it makes me a lot more present and enjoying what I'm doing.
mm. Yeah, because you spend so much of your life working. So if you do something that you don't enjoy, then it's so much of your time that just goes way to that. And then I think, of course, I mean, several people in Sweden are also encouraged to have a plan. I don't think it's very common to have parents that are like, no, just do what you like, it'll be fine. But it's definitely given me the confidence to try that, and they've always been there as sort of a safety net. Like, oh, you can always move back home for a few months if you need to, if you know. Um, but my
Did
husband,
they
for example, he's been raised in a different way. He always had a plan. He always had, I mean, not exactly a plan, but he's always had like been more focused on his career. And I mean, that of course has its benefits too. Now he has a well-paying job, so he doesn't have to work like super long hours. He can work from home, and for me. We can both live off his salary if I'm not pulling in a ton of money. So,
Yeah,
they both have advantages.
definitely. Now, I wanted to talk about The Last Observers. The story that you made about your parents that brought a lot of people happiness, and it made a lot of people. I think it kind of dismantled a lot of people in the best way possible. Kind of just showing that living a life such as Karen and Lennart, that they didn't make a lot of money, but they had each other and they had something they loved to do. It kind of showed them this alternative that goes in the way of what a lot of people face these days, kind of just moving on to the next materialistic need and showing the peace that comes with that. Can you talk to me, in your words, what is this short film about?
I think it's a little bit hard to pinpoint what it's about
Mm-hmm.
because on, the surface level, it's about their lives, it's about their work. But I think it's also a love story. It's a story of two people finding each other and finding their place, finding love for their life and for the place where they live. But to me, what I've realized after watching it 50,000 times, it's like a story of the passage of time, because it not only shows their lives with, footage of them when they were young and now they're old and this is ending, but just, yeah, and also the that type of work, like disappearing. It's not, you can't go to the work ads and find work as a weather observer anymore. It's like an old a way of life that's disappearing. And especially now that I'm about to become a mother as well, it's really like makes me think about the passage of time and how I'm also going to age and disappear, and new people are going to come that will have like a completely new worldview and live in a completely different world than I'm doing right now. And it's both like terrifying and it also makes me really appreciate being alive and my life right now. Everything that I have that I won't always have because everything ends.
The impermanence, kind of like your
So,
parents, not like they have to move on, right, from being weather observers.
yeah.
And that's what makes knowing you're going to lose something makes it all that much better. What are they doing now? Are they like in a retirement home? They don't seem like the types to be in a retirement home, though.
No, no, they're
Where
not.
are they at?
No, they're. I mean, their lives haven't. They don't. They. It looks pretty similar. They're not doing much things different. Of course, now they could travel. Now they could leave, but they don't. They don't want to go anywhere. They're happy where they are. So they're just trying to live out their lives in peace
You
and
you
appreciate each other,
mentioned
love each other.
you mentioned that you watched The Last Observers like 50,000 times. I I do the same thing with anything I make. Like I watch it a million times, and each time, like there's times when I watch it and I imagine, oh, this person, this person is watching it. Like, how cool is it going to be from their perspective? Or this person is watching it, and this is going to be awesome. And um, I get very energized by that. By like creating something, putting it out there, and then just being able to watch it without being able to change it. Like how does it feel that this Last Observers, that it's out there for everyone to view, including yourself, and you comprising like 50,000 of those views?
I mean, the first couple of, first 100 views, I did change things, but then after that, it's mostly been at film festivals or like at screenings with an audience. So then I've like been half focused on the film and half focused on people's reactions. And I love watching the film with people because it's like slightly different with different audiences, how much people kind of interact, if they laugh, if they cry, if they like, if they're loud about it or if they're quiet. In Sweden, people tend to be more quiet, but in the US, for example, it's great to show films because
Yeah,
people laugh.
they're more
They like,
animated, right?
yeah. But yeah, so it's getting people's reactions has just kind of solidified my happiness with the film. I don't watch it now thinking about things that I would want to change. I just watch it and like notice parts that I like. Pretty much. I still haven't gotten sick of watching it, even though I know every line. I could recite the whole film easily. And I still feel things watching it. I mean, not to pat myself on the back too much, but I mean, it is my parents, so it makes sense.
Where
But
did
yeah,
the inspiration come for creating this film about your parents?
I mean, I had the idea to make the film back in 2019, I think, after reading an interview with my mom in a newspaper, because they were interviewed every now and then because their work is so special and they wanted to talk about the weather or the birds. But this was like a slightly more personal interview, so you kind of got to know a little bit more about her. And I had friends reach out to me and ask, like, is this your mom? I didn't know anything about this. Like, this is so cool. And at that time, I just finished my marine biology studies and realized that there were no jobs or no jobs that I would want or be able to get. So I needed something else to do. And so I bought a secondhand camera and I started making the film.
I can relate to what you
Yeah.
said about marine biology kind of getting out and seeing that, there's not a lot of jobs that I want to do, and the ones that I can, I'm probably underqualified for.
Mm.
I've been there for engineering for sure.
Mm.
Um, like the jobs that I want are a bit too far away from me, and I'm
Yeah.
a little bit too lazy to go work my way up.
Yeah.
But going back to the Last Observers, and sharing your parents with the world, and seeing your friends' excitement, and you being able to feel something each time you watch it, what was it like showing the Last Observers to your parents, like the final copy? Where did they have an integral part in the editing process, or do you just recorded them, they went about their lives, you went about theirs, and then you showed them?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when I pitched the idea to them to make a film about them, they had to think about it for a day or something. But then they said yes because they trust me,
Mm,
because they know me and I'm their daughter. I don't think they would have let. I mean, I know that they wouldn't have let anyone else do it, and so of course it was really important to me that they approve of the final film. But I also know them really well. So when I edited it, I knew what would be okay with them to show and what wouldn't be okay. So I showed them the final product, and luckily they were happy with it. My mom, of just her only comment was that, "Oh, can't you like put another voice over mine? I sound so like."
Like an AI voice.
Yeah, exactly. I can dub the voice in English.
Yeah. It 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 gave me a lot of it allowed me to reflect on creating a story about my parents, you know, um and just the power of story as it is. You're, you know, it didn't, like, on paper it doesn't seem the life your parents led is, action packed or very fun for that matter. I'm just saying on paper. And like a lot of people, there's a lot of mundaneness in the middle of excitement, right? That's how life is. What makes TV shows and movies so good is they just show life without the boring stuff. This isn't my. This is someone else who quoted that. I forgot who, and it's kind of killing me that I can't remember. Um, but you were able to show, and I'm putting this in quotes, like the boring parts of life, but you made it fun. I don't know how you did that, but that was super cool.
That's a wonderful compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the boring parts, like you say, that's the majority of life, the boring parts. And yeah, I think it needs a bit more appreciation, the boring parts.
It does.
Because we were so, like you say, we're so focused on the excitement and, oh, what's happening next and what am I doing this weekend? But the slow, like the slow life is where the good stuff is, like the really good stuff.
Yeah. It's like you kind of I know this wasn't your intention or anything, but it feels as if like you're romanticizing these parts of life. And I just like I I love the appeal behind it. And it was really refreshing to kind of see something like that without any like, yes, you introduced conflict into the plot of, your parents having to, like relocate, but it didn't feel like the conflict was like the main mover of the story. It was just a part of it.
Mm.
And Maya, I'm also your confidence in being able to direct this, to edit this, to produce this. Like I show up on set sometimes as an assistant producer, and I'm lacking the confidence to like be like, hey, like the audio's a little bit off, and you're able to, do this whole thing. Where do you think that confidence comes from?
I mean, I think it would have been different if I would have had a whole big crew with me that are like super experienced, and then I would like go there and try to tell them what to do. So I think it made it easier that I did a lot of things myself, and I could kind of trial and error it a bit. I mean, it took me some of the footage in the film is from 2019, but there was also a lot of footage from there that was just like way too bright or way too dark,
Yeah.
or like just because I was still learning the camera. And
What
so in the
camera?
editing, also, it's I have here. It's just it's like a little handy cam. This is
Oh,
what I shot it on.
nice.
Mm.
Wow.
And then for some scenes, I had a friend, a filmmaker friend, come in and do like the intro and the outro on a better camera, and the interview is also recorded on a better camera. But I don't remember what it was now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the majority of it is shot on that.
Yeah.
So
I
so I could the same thing with the editing. I could like try things out for myself because I also had plenty of time. Uh, since Patagonia got involved, I had a deadline, but before that I had like 3.5 years of just testing things out. So I think um, that's how I managed to do it, and also like knowing myself and knowing that I'm a pretty quick learner. So if I if I'm gonna, I mean, if I'm gonna learn to like an editing program, I'll be able to learn how to do it. But then like creative things, it's also not. You just have to do. Like there's no right or wrong. You just have to do, and then kind of hope that what you like, other people will also like.
What sticks out to me is you have to do. Doing is essential for this process, right? It moves you into trial and error. It moves you into learning about how cameras work or how to host an interview.
And
And
I mean, believe me, I was terrified for a lot of it,
sure,
and like felt so like the imposter syndrome was real, for real, even up until like we showed at the first film festival, and then we won like the best short film, and then I was like, that was when I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, I made a real film.
I'm
Like
here.
people are actually
Yeah.
seriously.
Mm. Can you talk to me about that fear and the imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I don't really know. What would you like to hear about it?
Yeah. To be more specific, how did you work to continue creating something even though you felt that fear? And when you joined with Patagonia, and that I'm assuming that's about when the imposter syndrome started kicking in, how did you continue moving forward with all these kind of conflicting feelings that are telling you, hey, maybe I shouldn't be here?
I mean, that's the thing about fear. Like you just have to do things even though you have the fear, because that's how you get rid of it. I think that's like one of the most valuable things you can learn. Just do things even though you're afraid. You don't have to stop being afraid in order to do it. Like you don't have to stop being afraid first. You can just do it, and then the fear will eventually go away.
Isn't it such a cool feeling too? Like once you meet the fear head on, you realize it's not as bad as what I thought. And I'm speaking for myself. My mind always likes to entertain the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And then you meet it and it's like 10% of that. Like it's
Yeah.
10% of that, maybe 95% of the time.
Hmm.
And then after
Like
that
the
feeling you
fear of
have
the fear.
after, yeah,
Yeah.
the fear of the fear, it just compounds, right? There's like fear just as is, probably what we need to survive. And then there's our stinking minds just adding to that fear by creating stories around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be very overwhelming, especially in artistry, because you're creating something that is a very innate sense of yourself, a sense of you. Like you're being extremely vulnerable when
Mm.
you're creating something. In your case, you're showing your family, you're showing their lives, you're showing who they are.
Mm.
And I can only imagine how, like, and trying to do something so beautiful, how much fear you felt in the process at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, once you got picked up by Patagonia. You know what? I'm actually more to add to that. I'm curious to know Patagonia. They love doing branded content, right? I've looked at the Patagonia films. It's really remarkable what they do. I seriously love that model. What was it like? Like, how did you get picked up by Patagonia? Did you show up and pitch something? Did they come to you? How did that work?
Yeah, it's fully thanks to my husband,
Mm.
whom I met
The
during
planner.
exactly who I met during the process of making the film. We met, and he has a background in marketing, so he's been doing like some work in the U.S. and then he had a contact at Patagonia. He was like in California, and then he just wrote to someone he had connected with on LinkedIn, like, "Hey, I'm close by. Can I come by for lunch?" And he was actually like in San Francisco, and they're down in Ventura, so he drove for like hours and hours, and then he went there and
Really?
had lunch with this person. And then he's kind of maintained that contact over the year and been thinking that I want to do something with Patagonia at some point. And then um, and then it was his idea to pitch a film to them. So he made up this this film about an 80-year-old woman that's going to learn to surf. And because we have a surf instructor friend, he's like, I'll find an old woman. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. And then as he was going to send this pitch, he was like, hang on, you're actually making a film. Like, maybe they would want that. And so he kind of sent as a, by the way, my wife is also doing, or like my girlfriend at the time is also doing this film about her parents in a lighthouse. And then they were like, oh, this lighthouse film. Yes, we want to do this. So that's how it worked. I was barely involved in the process. I was just showed up in the meeting and I was like, hey, I'm making a film.
Well, it was very nice of your husband to think of you, at least your boyfriend at the time, to involve you. And do you ever like think, hey, what would have happened if he only talked to these Patagonia guys about the surfing video and not mine?
Yeah, it would just been a completely different thing. The film wouldn't be what it is today. I wouldn't have had any money to put behind it. It wouldn't have reached as many people. So I'm super grateful for that collaboration. It's been like Patagonia have been great to work with. I was a little bit worried that they would try to like commercialize it or be like, yeah, they should wear Patagonia clothes or something like that. But they've been really, really good with like the creative integrity. They're like, this is your film. Like, you're going to do it the way you want it. Like, we might have thoughts and comments, but in the end, it's like the decision, you have the decision-making power. So that's felt really good.
I bet. I've talked with a fair amount of filmmakers who do work in branded content, and the good brands are doing exactly what you mentioned of Patagonia. They give you the creative freedom. They offer suggestion and guidance, but at the end of the day, the decision making is yours. Versus some brands, like when Say Hop In, you have multiple levels of executives that the project has to go through. And it was often found that the more people the more people that your project had to go through, the less likely it was to actually make it, right? Did you have like a one-on-one partnership? It was just like you and kind of the point of contact at Patagonia, or was there like a whole team of people there to support you?
There was a couple of people, like 2-3 people. So I had a main contact in Europe and then 2 people from the US that would like watch the film and give feedback. They're the executive producers on the film too.
Now I'd like to visit your or I'd like to hear about your life prior to film. You're mentioning you went to school for marine biology. Where did the path take you from there?
So back in high school, or the Swedish equivalent of high school,
What's
I
it
took
called? The Swedish high school.
It's called
What's
gymnasium,
it?
actually.
Gymnasium. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, if I'm moving around a lot, it's because I'm sitting on one of these Pilates balls. Because, yeah.
Oh, I have one. I have one in my room. I like bounce around on it all the time.
It's great. And so in high school, then I was like, that was my first run-in with filmmaking. I took filmmaking because it seemed fun, more fun than like reading about history or science or whatever. So I was planning to work with filmmaking. And then after I graduated, I was taking a gap year, like many Swedish people do. I was working for 6 months and then I was traveling. And I went to Mexico and I learned to dive. And then I was like, okay, I need to become a marine biologist. I need to work with the oceans. I learned about, the overfishing and exploitations and everything. And I was like, this is going to be my thing. This is going to be what I do. I'm going to save the oceans.
Yeah.
And so I went to school and got my bachelor's. And after my bachelor's, I realized that I was just reading about the ocean. I never got to be in the ocean. So then I left Sweden for a year and got my dive instructor license and worked as a dive instructor in the Caribbean and spent a lot of time in the ocean, which was wonderful, but it was also really hard work, for not long hours, not a lot of pay. It's a crazy lifestyle to work with tourism in a way because people just come and go all the time. You have the same conversations with everyone. And so
You've told
came
your
back
story like a million times to them too.
Yeah. And everyone's like, "Oh, I went here and did this crazy thing," and you're like, "Wow, you are the first." No one that
It has to be novel reaction each time, right?
Yeah. Tell the same jokes about the dive sites, like, "Oh, there's a shipwreck here, but don't expect the Titanic." Ha ha ha. You hear the other dive instructors say the same things to their students. But so I went back home and went back to university and got my master's. Because my plan was to become a scientist, to do my PhD and everything. And after my master's, during my master's, I did a year-long project, like my science project. And I realized that this is not for me. It's too lonely, first of all. Like in science, it's so what's the word? It's like in Swedish, I would say it's so dry, but like it's this kind of you read these boring papers and you write these boring papers, and the actual science you get to do is
too theoretical, not applicable.
Really theoretical and really narrow, and you don't really get to do anything that changes anything or it just felt wrong for me. And also I had
maybe shallow. Is that the word you're trying to use?
Shallow, more just I guess it's a synonym for boring. It didn't light anything in me.
I like dry. I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah. And also I'd come to a point in my life where I wanted to kind of live in one place and have a base, have a friend group, have my family around, not always be moving between places. And that was also a thing. If you wanted to find work in marine biology, you had to be prepared to move to the other side of the planet, pretty much, which when I was younger was appealing, but now it was like, I don't want to do that. And so I started thinking about how I could use my biology degree. And I don't remember now how I found out about it, but someone told me about this program. It's a worldwide program called Teach for All. In Sweden, it's called Teach for Sweden. And then if you have the theoretical background, you can get a teacher's license in a year and a half for a really short time. And then you work also during that time. So you work 80% and then you study 20%, and then you get paid for that full 100% because they want more licensed teachers, especially in the science, natural science subjects. So I did that. So I started working as a teacher, a biology teacher. And then it was, easy to find a job. It was a secure income. It was a 9 to 5. I didn't have to work crazy hours. But working as a teacher is rough. It is hard. I mean, having a kid is hard, but having 30 kids in a room and you're trying to teach them things and not have them kill each other and they're 13 years old. It's and then you're doing that 8 hours a day. It's really, really intense. And I really enjoyed being a teacher. I really like to teach, but just the amount of work that wasn't teaching, that was just everything around that. It was too much. So during this time, I was also working with the film on, weekends or whatever I could find the time. But I started thinking about what I would, if I wanted to stay on as a teacher or what I wanted to do. I'd followed like this group of kids from grades 7 to 9. And after grade 9, that's when you go to high school in Sweden. So that's
Gymnasium.
exactly, gymnasium. So my kids were leaving, and then I was like, okay, this is a good time for me to leave also, instead of starting with a new group.
Yeah,
And
and
then
it's kind of like
after
with the tour guide, it's kind of what you're saying. Like with the tourism, they leave, the kids they
yeah,
leave, but they're there for
that's a
3 years,
thing,
right?
because you watch them grow up, and you're
Yeah,
with them for years. So it's really cool being a teacher. I think under different circumstances, being a teacher would be the best job in the world. But like with all the stress and the big groups of kids and like no time to do
yeah.
the work around it, yeah. We don't need to get into all the problems with the
Okay.
school system today.
That's another podcast of itself.
But so after I quit my job, it was just a few weeks until we got the yes from Patagonia. So then the universe provided, and I got an income again. So that's pretty much how it happened.
It's like a yeah. I like how you said like the universe kind of just took care of it all. You know, you finished up 2 weeks later. I kind of wanted to unpack a couple of things you said
Yeah.
and share my insights. I've worked as a tour guide before for my college, and I can totally relate to making the same jokes, acting super surprised to everything everyone said. Um, but for some reason, it never like I don't know, like I enjoyed it. I did I never minded because I think the new faces were energizing for me and kind of just well, it was mostly like parents asking questions for kids, which was a bit concerning for me because, you know, if you're a kid who's about to go to college,
Yeah.
you should be asking questions yourself. But I can definitely relate to always having to act surprised and the repetitive nature of it and kind of people always coming and going. And I really like the way you put it, and it resonated with me a bit differently than other, you know, people who've done tourism. And also when you're talking about your teaching experience, I really like the program where 80% of the time you taught and 20% of the time you learned. Like 80% of the time you worked and 20. I think that's an amazing learning model. Kind of what we're talking about and your like like why you left science because all they're doing is like learning, 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 learning. That's what I did in college. Learn, 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 learn. But I think it's kind of something that's been reoccurrent in our conversation today is actually doing.
Mm.
And you learn 80% and then like you learn 20% and you do the rest of the 80% and I'm guarantee like or I don't want to guarantee I'd rather you know tell me because I can't confidently guarantee but you probably learned way more because you actually got to immediately apply what you were
Oh,
learning.
yeah, totally. Like you learned something on, because we were working Monday through Thursday, and then you had school on Fridays. So you learn something on the Friday and you can try it out on the Monday. And then you
Yeah,
have like your colleagues that went to university for 5 years to become a teacher, and then they're dropped in the school, and then they're supposed to use all of these tools that they should remember from 5 years. I mean,
but they don't. Like I could not remember everything I learned.
and also the way this education was formed, it was like a leadership education is what it was called. So there was a lot of like leadership techniques and like group
Mhm.
psychology and these things that I don't think you get on a regular teaching.
Right. Or
Like
maybe in like a master's
maybe,
teaching program that's
maybe.
where I would move. Yeah, I found that the most practical classes I learned at university were at the master's level.
Mm.
Not, you know, the first 4 years. I was mostly theoretical. But let's kind of jumping back into the filmmaking sphere. What's the filmmaking scene like in Sweden?
I mean, it's obviously different if you're making a documentary or if you're
Mhm.
making narrative, if you're making features or if you're making shorts. So most of my experience is from the short doc
Mhm.
world, which is fairly small, not very glamorous. A lot of people are struggling to like make money.
Yeah.
But there is a sense of like we're all kind of in agreement with each other that short documentaries are so underappreciated because there's a lot of good short documentaries that people make because you can make them about like smaller subjects, more intimate stories, more like more boring, slow life
Yeah.
stuff because you don't need as big of a budget as you need to make like a feature doc or something like that. Um, but that said, like I've stayed pretty much here in my corner doing my things. I haven't I've been at film festivals and talked to other filmmakers, of course, but I haven't I don't have a huge community of filmmakers here in Sweden that I regularly see. Um, I'm doing my own thing, and then I've gotten to know some people, of course, um, but yeah, I'm not a part of the industry in a way. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say I haven't. I'm not a networking type of person.
Sure.
That's also why it's really good that I have my husband as my
Marketer.
producer because he's such a
Yeah.
networker, and then I can just stay here and do my little creative things, and then he can go out and meet people.
Yeah. And it's yeah, that highlights the importance of teamwork, right? Your husband being able to help you and also leaving you to focus exclusively on your craft, right? I mean, it's good having a team. It allows people to really stay in their lanes and to
Yeah,
just
you don't have to
exceed
do everything.
expectations, to really hone in on their one role and getting closer to master it.
Mm.
So I hope, your husband continues to find a network for you and that you continue, um, your creative stuff, like creating new documentaries, raising your kid. I know um, that's along the way. And
Mm.
to kind of wrap things up, Maya, obviously soon there's going to be a new member of your family. It, do you have any additional plans for filmmaking during this time?
Yeah, I am working on a new short doc for Patagonia. So I have the hard deadline of when the baby comes that I want to finish it before, because otherwise it's going to be really tricky.
Oh man.
Just started editing this week. So
Okay.
yeah.
But at
So
least you're in post production now.
yes, exactly. And I'm really excited about it. It's about a Sami couple, the Swedish indigenous people.
Hmm.
So yeah, it'll come out, I think, January 2027, something like that's the plan.
Now, just was it just you, or was it you and I know there's probably only so much you can talk about the documentary, but are you able to say, like, was it just you who created it, or did you have a team surrounding you?
So this was actually this idea came from Patagonia that
Hmm.
pitched it to me as a
It's
filmmaker.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely is. So it's not my idea this time, but it's also been we can definitely have another conversation when this
Sure.
film's done. It's definitely been a very different way of working on the film about my parents, because it's also been so important that the protagonists of this film, that they have their say in what is being told. So instead of me, Patagonia, or me making a plan, like, okay, we want to show this and this, it has to come from them. Like, they have to kind of tell me what it is that they want to, what message they want to send to the world, since I'm not Sami myself.
I really respect the integrity you have there to allow these people to express themselves and be shown the way that they want to. Well, Maya, thank you for joining me on the Votary Podcast. I
Thank
don't
you
know, do you
so
have any
much.
closing words? Is there anything else you want to say?
No, nothing that comes to mind. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I feel more energized now than I was before. So thank you for
Good.
that.
You're welcome, Maya. And I'm also